Oh, we are live and kicking.
That's so funny. Say it again.
Oh, stop it. Right, mute.
Kit, over to you.
Over to me. Right, okay. So I thought this might just be fun for us to share some stories, some fun memories of our time last year. Mad that it was a year ago. And so I know, Hams, you got a story that you wanted to share. I'm sure we've all got
I
bits
have
and pieces. So go ahead.
I have loads of stories, but I have one particular story. Hey, Isis. So do you remember that time, guys? Yeah, when we were doing the Psalms, and do you remember that time when we were doing the Psalms? It was pretty early in the run. And we were still trying to work it out. And do you remember the time when we were? I can't remember which Psalm it was. Probably the third one. And there was a lot of noise going on. It was me and Kit were in the front. I remember it was like me and Kit were in the front with Paul, but there was a lot of stuff going on in the back. And I think there was like some sort of argument with a couple. Does anyone remember that, or is it just me?
Yeah, no, I remember that. There was like a proper argument going on, like a proper domestic argument. Hey, man, welcome.
Hey.
Hey, Francis. Welcome.
Oh. I'm sorry. I just woke up, guys.
We're just talking about our favorite moments during the run.
Yeah, so like we were doing the Psalms and what there was someone who was, they were having like a proper domestic argument.
Yeah.
And it was behind us.
Yeah.
So we couldn't turn around and be like, I'm really sorry, can you be quiet please, because we're singing a really important song.
I just thought that was hilarious.
It was ridiculous.
And because we had to be quiet, because we were in Greece and it was quite conservative and we had to be really serious and stuff. You know, when we tried to get people out of the way, and then at the beginning we were quite polite, but then as we were going through the run, we started getting
really
ruder. And you remember that time, Kit, where I think it was you had the drum and you were walking over and you were like, move. And then one guy turned around and said, what did you say to me? And it almost kicked off.
It almost completely kicked off. It was like they were starting a fight with a bunch of nuns and dudes in suits. It was really weird.
It was really,
I loved
really
the
weird.
Psalms, guys. I really had a great time, and you're right. It just got rowdier and rowdier as the time went off. I was like, oh God, at the beginning. So suddenly you're like, move, man. We've got Psalms to sing.
Yeah.
But I remember me and Felicity were stood next to each other, and we had to walk really slowly. But as the run went on, I started doing races with her. Like, not like a big race, but walking too quickly sometimes and just like getting ahead and trying to push people back. And
I remember seeing you and I was like, excuse me, drums over here. What were you doing?
I remember those. I just seen Chipo just speed.
Naughtier and naughtier during the show.
I remember seeing Chipo just speed past like people. I'm like, where's she going?
One of my favorite things was that, like, as the run went on a whole, those kind of little in-jokes between us on stage that would kind of grow and grow and grow, and then get to the point where we'd be sharing those with the audience, especially because some of them would come back multiple times. And one of the ones was that we get into this weird thing where me and Hams during the play within the play would both make each other laugh, and we shouldn't really be interacting at all.
Oh yeah.
But there'd always just be this thing where with just one look would just set us off.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to really commit, and your 5 times a death would become 7 times death, or whatever. It was so good, like just ridiculous memories like that, or like the ad libs in the lovers scene got more and more outlandish. I think what was it like the salmon thing? I can't quite remember what that was about, but it was about how we'd fight each other, and it would just get more and more crazy, and the audience would just completely be up for it. It was mad.
I definitely remember being the only one of the lovers to not stack it at some point.
That's true. Yeah.
Remember, Isis, she probably won't want this to be brought up.
Yeah, no, but she did stack it.
And like you could hear it. They were like,
yeah. Yeah, it was because that was that one box that was like the step up to the stage, and it was so rickety.
Yeah.
And the audience around her were immediately like, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "Leave me alone. I've got to carry on with the play."
She kind of like laughed through the next line, like shock. But she saved it so well.
The amount of times where Paul and I would get clothes attached to the set and not be able to move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I nearly died, and I'm not even joking. There was one time where I had to jump down from the top bunk of the bed onto the stage, and I got my pajamas caught on the side of the bed as I was coming down, and so I tripped and I fell off this like 7 feet like bed thing, and I fell kind of face first. And thankfully there was a mattress, and I only just kind of landed on the mattress. And if I had landed, I would have I might have died. It was really. I just remember being like in shock, and then I did the rest of the scene just thinking, "Wow, that was a close one."
That was the thing because after that you charged towards Tessa and I on the other side of the stage, and when you grabbed me and looked into my soul with fear. You're just like gazing, just like, "Am I okay?" And I was like, "I think we're okay. Are you good to continue?"
Guys, the whole show was just trying to stay alive. I mean, speaking as one of the fairies, can we just say that we put our lives at risk every time we got onto the stage?
That's what you did is incredible.
Guys, like, Rachel, do you remember that time when we had the pole incident and it's like,
oh yeah, one time they cleaned the pole and it didn't properly dry, so that was like a very slippery experience. It was crazy. We made it through.
Oh yeah. No majors. I remember one time, I think it was the last show, or probably the last two shows. It happened one of the last two shows. It was a mechanical scene. And do you remember? I never saw it, but I remember it because Amy and Jamie were crying. It was just the bit when I come back with the ears. And Amy and Jamie were crying was because Francis
No, that's not.
had to play a prank on the mechanicals. Apparently, Francis, do you want to tell the story?
Where is he? Oh, he's there.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Bro, I can't remember that.
I'll tell you. I remember it so clearly. It actually stays with me. So we're doing the scene where we're like rehearsing the play, and Francis had that little dog in the later scene, didn't he? And the second dog we had that we got for NT Live had a little like almost like tiny pink Barbie comb. Oh my God. And he used it in the sort of place, the last appearance of Thisbe scene, and it was funny, ha ha ha. Then on the last show, the second to last show, he comes out, and we're all rehearsing the play, blah, blah, blah. Ham's gone off to get his ears. We turn, and we had this moment where me and Amy would look to him like, "Oh, is it, Jermaine, what's your line? You say something," and we were checking the pronunciation. And we turned to Francis, we're like, "Oh, is that right?" And Francis gets out the tiny pink Barbie comb out of his pocket and just starts combing his beard with it. Like, yeah, that's right, definitely. In our faces. I was absolutely, I was just laughing, fully laughing. Me and Amy were crying, and we had to go like this. My head was like inside myself.
Yeah.
What killed me was that when I came back, they're supposed to be terrified because I've got the donkey ears. And Amy and Jim are like, tears in their eyes streaming down their face.
Honestly.
And I had no idea what was going on.
I just saw in your eyes because you were literally like,
I know, you look so confused. What's going on?
I was so confused because like literally tears running down their face. I was like, what's happening? But I thought I just got to keep going, But there was no fear. There was no fear.
You remember it now, Francis?
I do remember it now. But literally a few shows before that, Hams did something and he got all of us. I can't remember. I think it was the first time he did like a banana slip or one of the deaths or something.
Oh, it must have been one of the deaths, I think. It must have been one of the deaths.
Yeah. First time he flossed or something like that.
Yeah. He got me and I was like, you know what? I have to. There's not many shows left. So I thought I'm going to put in a shift. It worked. So, yeah.
It definitely worked because there was no fear in the mechanicals where it was just pure laughter. Amy was like she was done. There was nothing left.
And Amy, you were the easiest.
I literally came off like shaking. Jamie, I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." I was so bad. Like the first couple of shows, I think after press night was when I relaxed a bit because I was like really worried about doing it right and not corksing. And I just remember the first time I laughed on stage was because of you, Hams, and it was the bit where we're having an argument and you do the wall bit, and you were looking at me like that, and I just couldn't help it. I just absolutely, like, my lips started quivering. I was like, nah. You always got me.
I tried to get Ollie a few times.
When Helen fell down the stairs at the end. How loud that was. Bless him.
Yeah.
McGonagall.
Well, that was the thing with the stairs, though, because I wonder if Ollie remembers this. The stairs on the whole would always be moving. And I remember there was like a matinee show where lovers are coming on for the wedding, and Ollie and Gwen are already on stage just before the play within the play. And I kind of skip up the stairs with these 2 glasses of champagne, being like, oh yeah, I'm kind of home straight now. Trip on the last step, completely stack, all the champagne goes everywhere. And the look that Ollie gave me. And then I think you had the perfect line that was just scripted, that was primed to just take the mick out of me. And I remember just looking around the auditorium, and there not a single person was like, that was meant to happen. Everyone knew. And I was just like, the amount of like dangerous situations where someone has fallen or we've messed something up and everyone goes, oh yeah, I think that was part of it.
That scene had a couple. Remember that time Isis's dress just wouldn't do up at the back?
Yes, it wouldn't do up at the back.
Your blazer, didn't you? Gave her your
I remember giving her the blazer, and the people who were on my side of the audience had obviously seen that the back of her dress was open. I remember turning, and there was this very kind of like stern old lady who hadn't really laughed at any of the jokes. She turned to me and gave me a very curt nod, like respectful, nice one. And I was like, no, it's all good, all good. I hope you enjoy the show.
There were many
that entrance when you guys came on after me and Gwendolyn had just got married, and you, when that time when you tripped up the stairs, and something always seemed to go wrong then. I think it was a really quick change, and you 4 all ran up the stairs, and for one reason or other you all looked massively panicked all the time.
All the time.
I remember looking at you, and the line was, oh, here come the lovers.
Yeah, I remember there was one where it was like, here come the lovers, and I was the only one there.
Yeah.
Because I was always the first one up, and I was like, lover. The other 3 are on their way. Like, yeah. There was always something with that change, because we had to really quickly, obviously, get into all the wedding gear. The girls had to get into the dresses, and we had to get into our suits, me and Paul. But we also had to get rid of all the blood and the muck from before. And Hams had that one speech, kind of Bottom's dream, to let us do that. And I was always just like, Hamid, take an extra beat, please. Just please, today. But, you know, we got really quick at it. But at first, everything, all the quick changes for everyone must have been a massive struggle. Because it's such a quick show.
Yeah, man.
Also, like, coming through the audience, one of my favourite things began to be me, Amy, Jermaine, or me, Amy and Lennon. You know, when we had to come through the audience to go up on the lift for the second mechanical scene, we had to like come through. We had to come through when Kit and Isis were finishing off their scene, and Kit, stop it, right? Kit leaves, and Isis is left doing her monologue, and it's a really serious monologue, and she's looking like forward where Kit was, but he's left now, and she's looking forward like says this line like, "Hello, where are you? Whatever it is." But in more Shakespeare language, and then all the audience would turn to see if Kit was still there, or if like, oh, where's Kit then? And they would all turn, and we'd all be, me, Amy, Lennon, or me, Amy, Jermaine would be standing in a row, and everyone would turn to look at us like this, and it would just be us going. So after a while, I started also looking, which confused people. So I'd be like, where's he gone? And then we started experimenting with, should we be also looking for Kit? Because otherwise it's just us, like a wall of people turning, looking at us, and we were like.
But also you were in bright boiler suits. You're so visible.
Yeah.
So awkward. And they would turn looking for you and then see me and me trying, like.
There was one in particular though that I can't remember. It was one time that I was on, and a lot of people looked, and it was just a weird bit of the show, because when we went on to get onto the platforms, there was just a random kid's shoe stuck in the side of the stage, and it was there for the whole sing until the lift started going up. So there was just this kid's shoe, and he was there trying to pull it out the whole time. And then they were getting moved at the same time, so all you could see was this little kid hopping with one foot and one sock. And it was the funniest thing, because that just got me for the rest of the scene. I think it was like one of the first times that I was ever on for it, and I was nervous, and then it broke me. I was just laughing the whole way through it.
There was a moment before the interval where I'm on the bed and we're surrounded by the fairies, and Charlotte you had just done something that cracked me up. Because that scene is always, I always found that scene quite difficult because Bottom was just saying a lot of stuff. And Charlotte must have done, I don't know, Jay must have done something to you, and then you must have done something to Jay. But I must have clocked it, and I completely lost my trail of thought, and I just completely blacked out. I didn't know what to say. And Charlotte was just staring at me like...
Yeah, it was every time. It's Jay's fault and your fault, because yours and Lennon's heads are like that, and Jay would be behind Lennon's head, but he'd poke out and just stare directly at me for that whole bit. So I think I went like that, and then you heard it. I was trying to cover it like, and then you heard it there, and then you started trembling.
Oh yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
It was bad.
And then I remembered. Oh, I got to do a whole song as well. Yeah, it was a shambles. It was very funny though. It was very.
It's not my fault. Blame Jay. I blame Jay.
Well, he's not here, so I'm blaming you.
There are so many like funny things that happened as a result of one of us kind of like slightly messing up or doing something different. But one of the things that I'm kind of like realizing now is quite how much that audience made it, because like and the things that they did. Like I remember there was one show where they were particularly involved, and quite early on when they had the sequence of the lovers running away, I'd jump off the bunk beds and take the guitar and jump into the audience. And I remember on a couple of occasions there's always be someone who'd reach out and grab my arm and say good luck, and I was like always like, oh well thank you, but also I've really got to be somewhere. And those same people would be the ones that, like, I always remember David kind of coming down and having to do the spell on me for the first time, and then whatever those improvised moments with David talking to the audience, getting them to move, I'd always be laughing while pretending to be asleep because he'd be like, move. Like, it was so good.
Or just saying the wrong spell.
Oh, you did that too, yeah. There was one show where you gave me the same spell twice. And I was like, so am I still under the drone?
Slightly.
It was great.
Yeah. I remember one of my, this is maybe not one of my favourite moments, but Chipo just reminded me of it. When this was sort of probably one of the most embarrassing for me. But I remember in the first scene with Chipo doing that sort of furry duologue that we had. Furry goblin duologue, sorry. And the silk just didn't go up. You remember that, Chipo?
Yeah, you didn't go up, babes, and I was really upset.
Chipo went up into the earth and I did not go up. And as a result, I had to sort of do a sort of weird cat-like...
You were jumping over the bed so much, you were like climbing all over Gwen. Because the silk didn't take you up into the sky.
Yeah. I decided to sort of climb over Gwendolyn a bit and sort of do some weird, probably not very appropriate moves to try and look interesting. That was certainly my most embarrassing moment.
This is just reminding me.
Tech heavy show.
It's just from Chipo. It's just reminded me of a moment that really stands out that I really remember, which involves you. I hope you won't mind me saying it, but I remember with the Theseus to Oberon reveal when I'm standing on the bed with these pajamas, which are all Velcroed, and then they rip off and reveal this magnificent green and gold jacket and Oberon costume. But because of the audience and the size of the theatre, we were all mic'd up, obviously, and we all had mics running through our hair, microphones running through our hair with wire that ran through our hair, clipped with about 5 clips through the back. And the wire ran down the back of my neck. And I was standing on the back on one show. Chipo grabbed the collar of the pajamas and grabbed the microphone wire with it by accident. And as she yanked the pajamas away, she ripped the microphone and all of the grips out of my head. And it was this huge scene with Gwendolyn with this massive long speech, and not only have I got no microphone, so I've got to yell the whole thing, but half my hair is lying on the floor. And I've got these massive ball patches. It's literally like being hit by a car. I didn't know what had happened for a few minutes.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
No, wrong. I have to remember not to use your mug again, Chipo, because now I know what happened.
Oh, that's good. I've got another highlight, and that is just watching the lullaby scene, often on the screen, because it was just so cool. The fairies just always looked like they were floating, and it was so amazing. And there's a cool bit. There's a really cool bit where Jay he's holding on his whole like weight like a flagpole in it kind of thing, and he's like moving his legs, and he's just like he's flying, and everyone's doing all of these moves, but it just always looked so effortless, yeah. And then you'd find out later that like someone had like quite a bad injury, or that they were all, and they'd done like 3 shows and they were all like exhausted, but they just always looked like it was just like they were just like floating through the scene. And I just remember I was always just watching it being like, these people are just magical. It's just amazing.
Superhuman.
Until you have to get plucked out the sky by James going, "Come on, babe, it's all right. Weight on my shoulders." Because I've managed to wrap myself up in the silk and like have a bit of hair in there and not be able to get down. There was some sort of noose around my arm mid-interval, and I was trying to be ethereal, like, "I'm a pretty fairy. I'm a pretty fairy, I promise." Just absolutely crapping it. And then there's James underneath me going, "It's all right, babe, put all your weight on me. I'm bringing the stage up, yeah." That was really, really a top highlight for me, particularly because my brother was in the audience. I was like, "Hi, brother."
Yeah, it's one of the things of aerial. Like every single time you get onto a piece of aerial equipment, you never know what's going to happen. Like I had the bed beside me in the interval, and random times I'll just smack my head off it or hit my foot off it, and you have to carry on. Or the time that you got, wrapped up, Charlotte. But there's just random moments that you just didn't know were going to happen. Like that time we were doing Love on Top, and then all the silk started coming down early, and we were all there like, what's happening? And it's just one of those things you kind of just have to constantly keep keeping on top of.
In Love on Top, when the silk didn't come down for me.
Rachel was just like, Rachel was just like,
"Oh my god, that was hilarious."
I remember just
all the Beyonce.
I felt so bad for the audience because I was like, "You guys are missing out. You don't know. They don't know. They'll never see it." Such a shame.
And how many somersaults did you get to, David, in the end? How many was the record?
Sorry, I was just unmuting myself. I think, do you know, I can't remember, but I feel like it's 30. Is that a random thing? I think it was
definitely
30.
over 25. It was definitely over
20. 30.
Did you not get incredibly dizzy doing it?
So dizzy.
Oh,
so dizzy. And I think I have suffered permanent damage from that show, actually.
Don't say that.
Definitely damage to my spine and to my head.
What about emotional damage? Any emotional damage?
Absolutely. Loads of emotional damage. But it was all worth it. It was all worth it.
David, do you reckon you can still do all that stuff? Do you reckon you can still do all the silk work?
No, probably not. I don't think I could go straight back into sort of doing all those somersaults. I've been back a few times with Lennin. I sort of went back, got a membership and went back with Lennin and tried to do it amongst other things, like getting busy doing other stuff. But I tried to keep it up, and I've kept up some of the stuff so that hopefully, like the fitness stuff, so I can hopefully sort of, when we're through this, get back to being in the air. But I did have a go at being upside down in a tree the other week on the common. So, you can practice in a tree.
Don't try this
very puck-like. Yeah, very puck-like indeed.
Is everyone excited about the screening?
Yeah. I kind of want to see it. I haven't seen it.
I've not seen it. So
has anyone seen it?
Yeah, it's so good. They did such a good job of like capturing it. I loved it. I thought I was going to hate it. I went to cinema like begrudgingly, but I loved it. I thought it was great. So I hope
it's the version where David is like, "Move," and then it's like, it says Londoners, and then the guy shouts out and goes, "I'm Irish,"
Oh, is
And
that
that's the version that they recorded, so it gets me every single time.
Also, I forget that, like, in the interval, because obviously in the interval people could buy flower crowns and all the kind of merch and all of that, but then for the recording they just gave them all out so they could get as much colour into the room. And I remember when we all came on as the lovers for the kind of big lovers argument, coming out and just seeing a sea of purple and slightly kind of going like, oh my god, what's going on? Like eyes glitching out. But everyone kind of, I think we got really lucky with the audience that we had that night, because everyone was kind of really, really up for it. And I think some people probably bought tickets knowing that it was going to be part of the recording. I mean, if you look very closely, you will see each and every one of my family members several times in that recording, because they're all there and they all know where to stand. So if you look closely, you'll see them enjoying it. But I think we got really kind of lucky with the responses, like on the whole.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been incredible. Like the sort of wasn't there like a petition to get it on?
Yeah, still is. There's still a petition to get it onto DVD.
I love that.
Really?
I love that. I love that. That's brilliant. But yeah, man, it's exciting times. I'm excited. I ain't never seen it, so holla. That's so random. That's so random. I think that's it. I think we got it.
Right. I will stop now.